Well, it's another week closer to AFL men starting. That means time for another podcast. This is the Titus and Sergio Variety Hour. I'm Sergio Paradise, or if you're watching TV last night, I'm the strop to this bloke's hoax, Titus O'Reilly.
Strop was actually the guy that was Strop.
Yes.
He was one of the key people behind Kerry Packer's World Series cricket.
He was, John Cornell.
Yeah.
Very smart operator, and he used to own the Beach Hotel in Byron Bay for many years.
Why does it not surprise me that you know that's the bit you know?
Gee, I know that joint well. And in the front bar, there's the original Crocodile Dundee hat up above the bar.
I gotta say, there's not many. You pretty much know every pub and who owns it, the history of it. There's not many pubs in Australia.
So yeah, most of the better ones, I'd like to say, I've given most of them a good crack over the journey.
Now we should mention we didn't do last Thursday. Now this wasn't our usual hopelessness, and we're not falling back into bad habits.
No,
and we will do two this week. But I actually lost my voice last week.
You were crook as a dog, weren't you?
Yeah, I just got this bug, that's going around. It's not a very good story, but I just lost my voice, which made it
bit hard to do a podcast. And then in a way of one-upping me, you then tell me you broke your toe. I broke my toe last Thursday when I should have been here at Studio Titus, but you couldn't speak.
Yeah.
And so I took it upon myself to scoop the leaves out of my pool and hit my toe on the fence.
I don't think this is the first time you've injured yourself basically doing something to do with cleaning your pool.
Well, normally I get a couple of the staff members to do it, but I sometimes like to do the leaves myself because it keeps me grounded.
Yeah, that's right. There's one thing I'd describe you as grounded, man.
So we're back this week.
So you are literally the walking wounded, and
I've got the limps, but you're still a bit croaky. But we're back in town.
I'm not too bad now. It was just this really quick one. It was pretty annoying though.
24-hour virus they call it.
Yeah, it was. Oh no, I had a total case of man flu.
Oh, okay.
Like I reacted like I was about to die. Like I did. I don't. But then I got the
cure for man flu, whiskey.
Oh, I drank lots of whiskey.
Drink it. That's all.
That might be why I actually
just drink heavily. That'll fix it.
That might be why I actually lost my voice in the first place. Just alcoholism, just starting to get to me. Now, quick one. The Dane Swan gig is almost sold out. So if you are wanting a ticket, most of it's pretty much sold, but there's a few tickets left there. So,
jeez, I hope he's back from the jungle.
Hope he makes it back.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it'll just be me interviewing an empty chair, a bit like
Tom Arnold will be available.
Clint Eastwood. Yeah, I'll get Tom Arnold. I'll get a backup. Actually, if this goes well, that we were talking about who else we could interview, who else would be interesting, and wouldn't be Tom Arnold.
No.
I don't have a lot of interest in Tom Arnold.
No, his days. He's had his day in the sun.
Now, I should just alert everyone. I've been working on a new website for TitusO'Reilly.com. We had problems in the last year where it kept crashing when everyone went on.
Due to traffic. It's like when you try and buy a ticket to a concert. It's like Ticket Tech.
I had Ticket Tech were running it.
Yeah.
I had a guy who used to work at Etihad Stadium and Ticket Tech running it. No, it was just it's a long boring story which I won't get into, but we rebuilt the website from absolute scratch.
And it looks fantastic too.
It does look good. Now we've added a thing on this because a lot of people actually told me to. And they told me for one reason.
Delete it?
No, to delete it. Other content just to redirect to a completely different website. No, I've put on their ability for people to support us financially, actually give a kind of.
Now you're talking.
Yeah, become a subscriber to both this podcast and my writing. And the reason I've done that is I had a lot of people complain to me about when stuff of mine goes behind paywall. So
that is frustrating.
For me to get paid, I had to sometimes put it there. So people said, well, why don't you try the model of where people can give a small amount each month, and that keeps
and become like members of the.
They become like supporters.
Supporters,
basically.
yeah. It's like being a club
I thought about
member.
that, so I'm going to give that a go, and especially for this podcast of us doing it twice a week and all the costs associated and trying to do more things and do more writing and not have to go down a paywall way, which we never really want to do.
No.
And we're not expecting to make a lot of money.
Because you are a man of the people. We want to be accessible.
Well, yeah, I guess.
The right kind
Some
of people.
People who give me money. So you can go on and there's 3 levels of ability. I'll put the link in the podcast notes and you can go on at TitusO'Reilly.com. There's a support section, and you can go on. You can choose from. There's different amounts you can choose to sort of give us each month, and then. I think if you're a gold member, you get a free T-shirt as part of that. If you're a silver, you get a mug, and then there's ability. We're going to add more things to it. So there's ability for you to get advance notice of tickets, and we want to add events, and we want to add more things so that if that actually being a supporter gets you a better thing.
You really open your wallet, we'll pop round and
hang out, live with you.
And hang out with you.
But the real reason we're doing this is the attempt, because of the feedback of people, was
by my pool.
Yeah, you can come and help clean Sergio's pool. Is the real reason is to try and keep it from not having to be me having to go elsewhere, and so we can actually stay a bit independent. So that's our hard sell on you.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we'll just drift off and
into the ether.
In the ether. Now, getting down to business, one thing that we missed last week because we were off is a bit of news that came out. Gillan McLaughlin of the AFL did a very long interview with the Herald Sun. He talked about a range of issues. He talked about the fact that they're trialling things like zones, and that has no connection with them actually ever wanting to do zones, which seems weird to me that you would. They've been
trying a lot of things which they still maintain they're never actually going to do.
Yeah, which is sort of weird. He talked about that, but one thing that came out of it is he revealed that Jobe Watson has handed back his actual physical Brownlow.
Well, that's right. So it was only a couple of weeks ago that people were saying, well, okay, we know he's given up the Brownlow and blah, 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 and he's such a terrific guy for doing so. But has he actually?
And then he never handed it actually
the physical medal.
Well, it's as we pointed out. Saying you're going to do something is not the same as doing it. It's one of the great sad things of life.
Yeah. We're both well aware of that.
That's right.
That little paradox.
So apparently, McLaughlin said that Watson had handed it back, and he said that there was no formal request to do so. They didn't have to they didn't send the debt collectors around.
No, they didn't get a Ghetto involved or anything like that on the negotiations.
We can do this the hard way or the easy way.
But the thing, he was reluctant to say how it got back. I mean, did Jobe just pull up out the front one day and
threw it
at the chick at reception, or did he go in and have a proper meeting, or was it just?
It's all very secretive, because then they said what's going to happen with it, and he says, well, no, he doesn't really know, but at the moment he's just stuck it in his desk drawer. So he's just got it there.
It's just in the drawer with couple of Mikey cards and
I wonder what else is in. Will there be a lot under the carpet, swept under the rug? So I don't know what would be whatever Andrew Dimitri left. The written warning to Essendon that was coming.
There'd be like one of those hidden things in the wall. There'd be a portrait of Andrew Demetrio that if you touch the right-hand corner, it swings out slowly, and there'll be a safe behind it, full of secrets.
What secrets is Gill's desk drawer? So anyway, he says he's got it back. Now, this to me smacks a little bit of, how do we really know? They're not showing us the medal or anything. I reckon they've just gone, Joe's probably going, I don't know where it is, or he's just not done it. And the AFL going, Yeah, we've got it. We've totally got it.
It's in Gill's drawer.
Yeah, can we see it? But that would be inappropriate.
But we don't know if it's the one, because it does. I'm pretty sure, like we've all seen the front of the Brownlow medal. I'm pretty sure on the back they don't get
engraved or something.
Like J. Watson, Essendon 2012.
So I always wondered if they had a little marking on them somewhere so you knew.
But they get a couple made every year, 2 or 3. In case there's multiple winners.
So you think he's probably got like 20 in his desk drawer?
I reckon, or the ones for Sam Mitchell and Trent Cotchin, they didn't just fall out of the sky.
Do you think it's a bit like when, in radio, they have tickets to every concert, things that are precious to people outside of the industry.
Yeah.
They got hundreds of them just sitting there. Oh, you want a ticket to Bruce Springsteen? Here's 10.
There you go. Gillen say, we'll take the 8th caller. You can win a Brownlow
medal. Whoever guesses the secret sound or the secret injection.
Yeah, beat the bomb.
So anyway, aren't we glad that's over?
I'm glad it's over. I mean, is that the final thing that we need to worry about?
I was thinking about this when they announced Dyson Heppel was going to be captain and Jobe was going to be in the leadership group.
Yep.
And they came out and Essendon said, this marks the end basically now of this, we've sort of moved on to the new era, which maybe we have. And I actually hope we have. I'd like to get to the point where get past the essence of at some point because
Yep.
it is getting, and we all will because everyone will get old and die. That was just to do.
I'm
with
looking
it.
forward to seeing Essendon lose games and have no excuse for it.
Yeah, that's right. But the thing here is, how many times has this saga sort of people said this now draws the line in the sand of this saga? It's like
now there's
happens more often than
there's allegedly a Brownlow medal in Gillen's top drawer. That's the final thing.
Yeah,
We'll wait and see on that one.
This saga being over has been said more than America's lost its innocence. They're the two things. Now, in another thing about naming captains, and you've got to love this time of year because we're getting intra-club reports.
Yes, we are.
And we're getting leadership teams named.
Yes.
And having the intra-club reports
they're
been
flying.
great.
Everyone's flying.
And people write these, and I kind of know the journalists that have to write them. They have to write them, right? They got to write them up. But then people extrapolate from these match reports of players playing their own teammates. Basically, how they're going to go for the year.
Yeah.
Or it looked amazing. Yeah, of course.
Yeah,
it's a pre-season intra-club.
Jamie Elliott. Geez, he looked in good nick. Well, he should. He's been training for 18 months. Hasn't played a game, Actually, one bit of bad news I just heard this morning out of the West was Nick Nat knew he's not going to play at all this year.
Oh, he said he might not play at all this year. I saw that too, but it didn't sound likely.
It's a pretty bad ACL.
Coming back from his ACL.
It's bad news because he's one of your genuine blokes. I like watching him play because he's a star.
Well, all the best players. It's like yesterday they mentioned Dangerfield went down with a sore knee, which seems to be not serious, which is good. And
you just think, they said,
and you said, but you just think, they're the players you don't, even if you don't bag for them.
Yeah, nobody wants to see the superstars.
The very best players. The rubbish players, we don't care if they have season.
The list cloggers, they
can all go down.
They can just do both knees as far as we're concerned.
I couldn't care less about them. They're rubbish.
But your big name, your Dangerfield, your Nat Newish, you don't want to see them
We should put together the list of players we don't want to see injured, and then everyone else is.
That'd be a pretty easy list, I reckon.
So Melbourne have actually announced that they're going back to a co-captaincy model with Jack Viney joining Nathan Jones as captain. Now, this takes us back to the old great days of when we had Trengove
and Jack Grimes.
Yeah,
because that went well.
That went well.
Yeah.
I think the problem there was choosing two kids
who
had barely even played.
And
that was a bad idea. That's not a bad idea in hindsight.
Terrible idea. It was a stupid idea at the
time. And you knew it was a bad idea.
And they used to, pop out in their little red and blue striped blazers. They just looked like a couple of Xavier kids, getting off the bus. And they're trying to talk to the media, and you just knew it was going to end in tears.
Oh, it was a disaster.
Now, poor old Jack Grimes, he's not even playing AFL footy anymore.
No, and Trengove's barely played. He's had a lot of injuries and stuff.
He'll honestly, as good a bloke as he is, he will struggle to be Melbourne's best 22, even on a good week.
Yeah. So they're going back to... Now, what was interesting about... Nathan Jones admitted he was surprised when told of the decision. That's not what you really want to hear.
No.
You never... It's like... He didn't sort of say it like surprised in a good way. Like when you find $20 in an old suit pocket or something and you go, oh, this is a good surprise.
No, and you could see the photos of the two of them. And old Jonesy is a bit...
He was not thrilled.
Yeah, I don't think he was thrilled with this.
I don't know why they've rushed it.
I don't. I mean, Viney is a terrific young player, and obviously
he will be captain. That's the thing.
He's
we all know he's going to make him a vice captain.
Yeah, that's what I can't quite come this double captain thing. When Jones has spent the last decade, he's half carried this team on his own. Now he's been the standout captain for the last 3 years. Just let him be the captain, because I reckon it doesn't.
He deserves it.
It doesn't seem like now the club won't agree with this, but it doesn't seem from the outside like a vote of confidence in his captaincy, I reckon, by adding another one to the mix.
Well, I also think, like, Nathan Jones, I've described it like this before, he's the only one working, trapped in the worst group assignment in the history of time.
Yes.
That's been his role at Melbourne for most of the time. And I just think moving Jack Viney, him being a vice captain would have sent... Everyone knew he was going to be the next captain.
That was the logical thing.
And so
make him the vice captain.
And let Nathan Jones do like another year or so. Maybe in his last year he steps down and Viney steps up, or when he was finally retired. Like, there's no rush for this, but these these footy clubs, they love to tinker with a leadership group.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it wasn't that long ago that there were no leadership groups.
No,
there
like
was the
one
captain and the vice captain and the coach.
Yeah.
There's your leadership group right there.
I know, it becomes less of a leadership group when everyone's in it.
Oh,
That just becomes at some point it becomes a group. You reach critical mass and it's just a group.
I was coaching an under-11 team 2 years ago, and at the start of the season, one of the parents said, now we're going to put together a leadership group. I said, the under-11s, no. No,
Yeah.
it's not going to happen.
It's not like they've got meaty commitments. You're sharing the load.
I said,
That is
you're
ridiculous.
getting ahead of yourself. It's an under-11 football team. We
But who's going to deal with the
leadership group.
sponsors, Serge?
And as soon as we have a leadership group, that means there's 15 parents going, why isn't my kid in the leadership
Oh,
group?
yeah, that's right. You go,
no,
there's
it
one.
ain't going to happen. It ain't going to happen.
No, that's right. So did you see also that Jordan Lewis has joined Melbourne's leadership group?
He's in the leadership group.
Big step up for him.
It is. I don't know.
He's going
do
to
you
be
reckon he'll up to
overawed.
it? Do you reckon he'll be up to that pressure? After what? 4 premierships at Hawthorn? And there was another thing, as you said, these intra-club reports that come out. I saw one the other day, and it said Jordan Lewis, he was in silky touch in the midfield.
I saw that it said that...
And he's a bit lighter. Apparently he's lost a few
They're all
kilos.
like... Everyone is lighter. That's the amazing thing this year. Everyone is lighter. They're all come back...
Except Stephen Motlop, I think.
Now, there was an interesting thing on the weekend. Easton Wood of the Western Bulldogs, premiership captain.
Premiership captain, and one of those few players who has to be described by commentators by his full name.
Yeah, that's right.
Every time he gets a possession, it's not, and it's marked on the half-back line by Wood, it's by Easton Wood.
Yeah, that's right.
There's a few of those players who get around that has to use both the first name and the surname.
That's all where you want to get. You either want to you're known by just your first name,
Yeah.
or you have to go into that.
Yep.
Nothing worse than just being known as your surname.
I mean, go back in the day at Hawthorn. Dermot, you knew who it was going to be.
Yeah.
Easton Wood, sure, Wood's not an overly, unusual name, but,
No, but
he's
Easton
always
is-
described both names. Not
So-
that that's relevant.
He came out on the weekend and posted it on Twitter, and he'd written a little bit about criticising the amount of gambling in the AFL and asked why not more is being done to keep it from the eyes of children. He said that gambling advertising is out of control and I think it needs to change. He said that he could not stomach the amount of gambling advertising going on. He said, every year we're told it's a sinister and dangerous activity. And when he says we, he means the AFL players
Yes.
when they get their integrity briefing from the AFL. Because of the associated risks that come with gambling, all of which are very real. What I can't understand is if this is such an issue, why as an industry do we support the onslaught of gambling advertising you're now faced with when watching an AFL game?
Well, yeah, nice sentiment, Easton, but I'll tell you why. As an industry, we support the onslaught of gambling, because if it's not there, you'd be playing for $200 a week.
Well,
pretty
it's not
much.
that. But that's the thing, I think he's right, though. The AFL want to have both things on this. They want to take the money,
Yeah,
and then they don't
but like to look like they're
doing something about it. And it is gone over the top.
there's no question. Look, I'll admit.
And it's not. It's a big chunk of money, but it's not. They get lots of money from other things too. This is not their sole
income. Yeah, most of it comes from the media deals, from the TV rights.
You know what's interesting about this is when in 1991 the legislation came in, it was early, like 91, 92, depending on what state. I think it was a bit earlier, 89 in Victoria, but depending on what state you came in. They came in and they said, the new legislation said, no more tobacco sponsorship.
That's right.
And all the NRL, New South Wales Rugby League, or the ARL at the time, and the AFL, everyone said, this will decimate sports. Sports will not exist. Anyway, by 98, by 98, all the tobacco sponsorships, except for a few international events like the F1 Grand Prix, had gone.
Yeah.
Like they'd run their course. They weren't allowed to sign any new ones, and a few were they let the ones that had been signed run their course. So some were 5 years. So by 98,
It was all gone. All gone.
Alcohol, fast food, all that stepped in and filled the breach.
Yeah.
And then TV revenue was so big anyway, right?
Yeah.
So no, surprise, surprise. Now then, when in the late 2000s, there started to become noises about some bans on fast food and alcohol advertising, or some curtailing of just the excesses of it. And Andrew Demetrio came out and said, this will end the AFL and sports. And you're like, well, where have I heard this before? Like, where have I heard them say this before?
Admittedly, Demetrio said it as he butted a Benson and Hedges into the ashtray on his desk.
That's right, and signed up on the board of Crown. And so they all say this all the time. They all say
that's right. He's on
that
the board
you
of
cannot
Crown.
survive without these various
and let's face it, have a good look at Andy. It's not like he's never hit the KFC once or twice.
So that's what they say. So the thing here, and a few people came out and criticised these and said, "Oh, well, your club takes pokies." Well, that's not his fault. It is literally, if you're in the football industry, it's almost unavoidable to have money from gambling indirectly coming to you in some way.
Yep.
Like,
true.
it's impossible. Like, if you write for any of the papers, if you're on any of the TV networks, if you're on any of the radio stations,
they always cut to someone.
You don't have to be the one necessarily. You don't have to be the one necessarily taking the money directly, but almost every wage in football these days has some level of gambling money associated with, which is where, like, someone like him speaks out and people say, well, you're a hypocrite. But it's like, well, you can't play football without having some of your wage.
Yeah.
Now, you can be like you and I, who we have been, me for my website and us for this podcast. I got offered last Friday. Someone wanted to pay me to put a line in about certain odds in an article I was writing.
Right.
And we don't take gambling money.
No, we don't.
We've made that decision. Now, we'd be a lot richer if we did.
Yeah.
Like, it does take a stance. Like, it does take a...
And
now, we're not anti-gambling. I don't really mind if someone, wants to have a punt or whatever, but I also think...
I don't bet on footy and stuff like that. I'm only on the horses because you can't lose, as we know.
Well, horse racing's like you're just a license to print money. So I kind of admire Eason coming out and saying something, because I think what people are saying is there's always been a battle in Australian society of the true, and it used to be led by the churches, which is no betting whatsoever. Yep. Right through to the laissez-faire. You should be able to bet on anything you want. Yep. And don't be a nanny state, right? So you got those two ends of the pendulum. Now, about 1905, they banned...
It's a real history lesson today, isn't it?
They banned sports betting. Except for horse racing, they banned sports betting.
In 1905, you're talking about?
1905,
112 years
they
ago.
banned it. You weren't allowed... I mean, that's why they had the illegal SP bookies. You're only allowed to bet on horse racing and really only on-course horse race, on-course betting. So on the tote and the totalizer, right? That was all it is. Now, what's happened over the corresponding... So that the pendulum had swung completely one way to the anti-betting lobby had won, right? They'd basically almost wiped out betting legally, except for this horse racing, basically because they knew the industry would completely fall over.
Yep.
Because South Australia did ban betting
on horse
racing back in 1890 something, and almost overnight there was just no one at the courses. Yeah. Like, it was.
Well, you're gonna go there and just watch the pretty horses
run
around.
So that's the only reason they didn't ban the horse racing back then, is because they knew it was. Now, the reason that it changed and the pendulum started to swing back. So Victoria were the first. They said, well, all these SP bookies are making all this money illegally, and we can't tax them. Yep. So they came up with the TAB, which was the legalised off-course betting. And then they slowly allowed a bit of sports betting to come in on some sports, on some particular things. That's when they had, like, footy lotto and all that sort of stuff. Yeah. And then they eventually, over the last 10 to 20 years, in 2008, there was the big Supreme Court decision that said you can basically, with online betting, you can advertise in any state. And so you can be based in the Northern Territory, which a lot of them were originally, but you can advertise anywhere. And that's where it all took off.
Well, so when the internet came in, it changed everything.
And that High Court decision.
That legislation plus the internet, which has opened up all sorts of things for all kinds of industries.
So the pendulum's now swung completely the other way to the only thing where betting is restrained on is live in match betting.
Yeah.
So they're not allowed to. And that's actually quite common overseas, but in Australia, that's the one vestige of regulation there. Yeah. So the thing I think people are saying, if you're kind of in the middle, where you're like, I don't mind a level of betting. I'm not trying to stop everyone doing everything. Like I think, that me personally, I don't, because I think I'll just except for horse racing, I'll just lose money.
Yeah.
But it's but I do think like I think a lot of people are just saying we just want the pendulum to swing back
just a little bit
to around the middle. We're not saying let's ban all gambling. This is what I'm not saying. Like this is I think a lot of people are reacting to. They're just noticing that it's just gone ridiculously too far one way.
I agree, and I think one of the things Easton Wood came out after his tweet when a couple of people said, well, hang on, there's plenty of money in footy from gambling and you're one of the beneficiaries of it. He actually made the point, and I agree with him totally, is that he said he doesn't want to ban gambling either, but he said it's so aimed at kids and stuff these days that kids see that the odds on each game, and I know he's right. My 12-year-old sometimes will come in and say, Demons $1.75, that's unders. Or something.
And you say, no, not if it's Melbourne, mate.
no, it's way overs. But kids just see the odds for each game as a natural part of it as the teams. You look at the teams on a Friday and look at the odds for the match over the weekend.
But
kids have to learn how to bet properly.
That's your real problem.
Yeah, I maintain that
the Sergio Paradise School of Gambling for kids.
No, there's nothing wrong with you get a bunch of primary school kids round and teach them poker.
Well, I tell you what, I've never been so. It's like the thing that taught me life is all about motivation. Is going to school with some guys who could barely do maths and could barely pass year 10.
Yeah.
And then you'd get them into they got into racing and suddenly were doing like a beautiful mind level of equations around, and just with things with numbers that just amazing.
Couldn't agree more.
And it was all just because suddenly like that. Yeah. Like, hang on, mate. I remember sitting in class with you and you not know your timetables. Yeah. And now you're doing calculus to work out if this horse is going to win.
Yeah, and they've got sheets of paper with things written down on 4 different, Morfettville, Doomben, Randwick, Flemington, and there's just a massive numbers on there, but they know they read them like, as you say, like Russell Crowe in A Beautiful Mind. And you go, how do you do that?
Well, I thought it was very interesting that he came out and did it, and I don't think it takes anything away from him the fact that his club and others are involved in gambling, because that's the point he's making. Yeah. You now can't be separated from gambling and sport. Like, there is no separation.
And it's hard to see where that's going to occur. I mean, I know some of the clubs are talking about
trying to get out of pokies.
Yeah. I mean, North have never had pokies, and some of the other clubs saying, we'd like to get
some
out
of the
of
others, Essendon to their credit, and a couple others I just can't remember, have said they're not going to take betting. They're not going to have a betting partner. They're not going to have. So some of them have actually. Yeah. So the thing is, if all clubs take the same stand, or all codes or whatever, whether it's with gambling or cigarettes or whatever, the thing is equality. So if they all, to keep an even playing field, if one's taking that money and the others all aren't, then one's better off, the others are all worse off. But if they all just can't, this is what happened with cigarettes. No one could touch it, so it meant that everyone was in the same space. Yeah,
but you still, when you see videos of old footy matches, it's great to see, like, behind the goal umpire, there's around the fence, anyhow, have a Winfield. Yeah. And you see that while watching the Wills Super Mild Cup.
There was nothing better than
trophies named after fags.
There was nothing better than the sort of synergy of the fittest athletes with lung cancer.
You'd see a halftime photo of a Carlton game, and there'd be David Rees-Jones on the gaspers just listening to the coach.
Now, one thing I caught my eye this week is we've all known that Qatar is going to be hosting the World Cup.
Qatar World Cup. If there are 3 words that spell out corruption, it's Qatar World Cup.
People who don't know, they basically been very much accused under the old FIFA regime, which is not that different probably from the current one, but under Sepp Blatter's regime. Basically, Qatar bribed their way into getting the World Cup.
They just bought the World Cup.
Which is the 2022 World Cup. Now, there's been a bunch of controversies. One is the country is so hot
Yes.
So hot during the day, it gets up to like 40. It's sort of like what New South Wales is going through at the moment.
Up to mid-40s.
Mid-40s, like on a regular basis.
Yeah.
So that's seen as a slight problem for playing a sporting tournament
You would
outdoors
think,
which is true. They've also had enormous trouble, or not trouble, but they've also basically, to get everything built, so the various stadiums and stuff, have conducted huge amounts of human rights violations in terms
they're not bad about like that, these Arab nations.
Yeah,
when it comes
OH&S
to
is
building
not a...
infrastructure. Yeah.
OH&S, they don't know what that stands
There's
for
no
in this country.
CFMEU in Qatar.
Yeah, they bring a lot of people in from poorer countries like India and various things, and they have huge amount of stuff.
There's plenty of Bangladeshis.
And they have very poor working conditions.
Dubai do the same thing.
Yeah,
All
and
these
so there's been a lot
skyscrapers.
of deaths and migrant workers, like abuse and deaths from an exploitation to build 9 new stadiums, right? So they've had these issues going right back to the start. So these are some problems. But now they've got some real issues, Serge. More than people dying.
Right.
First,
9 stadiums that aren't going to be used ever again?
well, first is no one really, they haven't really worked out because Qatar is not that big a place. So it's a country of 2.5 million people. So when you think about it, that's significantly smaller than Melbourne or Sydney.
I didn't realise it was so few.
So
people.
very few people. They're rich, but very small amount of people.
Right.
So they've got to actually accommodate the amount of people that come to a country for the World Cup is about 1 million people. So they're going from having 2.5 million people who live there
they got 30%
to something more coming. And so suddenly they've gone, well, how do we accommodate all these people? Because obviously, like, building that many hotels and stuff is going to be, you're not going to use that ever again because people aren't, they're never going to have that many tourists again for anything.
No. Why would you ever go there?
That's right.
Other than this.
So they've come out and said their options. They've come out and said the way to solve that is that people should stay either on cruise ships, and we've seen the success of cruise.
That goes well sometimes.
That's always good.
We're just floating around the Mediterranean with no air conditioning.
That's right. Or they said that people should camp in the desert.
Well, there you go. There's a bit of lateral thinking for you.
Just camp in the desert. Now, a spokesman came out and said November and December, which is when it's being held, are cool, dry months.
Right.
He means at night, not during the day. Are cool, dry months, dropping into the mid-teens at night. Perfect weather for camping.
Oh, of course.
People have been camping here in the desert for centuries, and we will welcome fans from around the world to come and try it in 2022. Now, Serge, is this the silliest thing you've ever heard?
Oh, look, it's certainly up there. I mean, anything to do with the Qatar World Cup is just a cracker. But this is
pitch your tent in the desert.
But the thing is, if you do have the Uber app on your phone, they'll send a camel straight to your tent.
Right, that's right. That's how you do it.
Yeah, that's how you get back to the stadiums. But
can you imagine just like everyone go camp? It's going to be like Falls Festival or, it's going to be a nightmare.
It will. It'll be, like a dodgy music festival.
That's right. Yeah. You can't, this is like one of the biggest events in the world.
And have you ever tried to hammer in tent pegs into sand? Just be a nightmare. Then somebody will want to bring the annex.
And tent camping is like, everyone, imagine all the snoring and the noise, and you're not going to sleep. Like
the next tent over will have teenagers in it playing music too loud.
That's not music.
Justin Bieber, turn that crap off.
Now, the other problem they've got over in Qatar is they've basically said that there'll be, and this has been a huge issue, there'll be no drinking. They do allow some level of alcohol in Qatar. It's not like some Muslim countries. They do allow some, but they're in very specific areas, like places you can do it. You can't just... So they've said for the World Cup, no drinking in the stadium.
What?
No drinking in the stadium or around the stadium. None in public or in the bars or restaurants. So there's going to be some designated drinking areas, and then that's it. The rest it's illegal. And people and fans have gone, I've got to watch.
Have Scottish fans been told about this alcohol ban yet?
This is the thing that people are really furious about it.
Why would you go to a sporting...
The Qatarians have pulled the thing and said, well, hang on. You shouldn't have to need alcohol to enjoy football. And I'm like, seriously, there's not much of life that I can enjoy sober, let alone sport.
And imagine sitting there in one of these stadiums.
And it's 45
degrees heat. Geez, could go a beer, Titus.
Well,
Sorry.
I got you a water,
Yeah,
Serge.
it's a bottle of water. Yeah.
I got you a lift.
Can of Solo.
So people are going to be camping in the desert with no booze. It's just...
See, that's the other thing. Other than watching sport, camping without alcohol is just a terrible, stupid idea at best.
Oh, the only reason every person I've ever known that goes camping goes to drink.
You do.
That's basically it. It's just another way to organise
the
thing
most
around
important
drinking.
piece of equipment after your tent is the esky.
Oh, can you imagine?
Oh, this Qatar World Cup is just. Oh, it's going to be just fabulous. Well, what happens if you get caught in Qatar walking down the street with a can of VB?
I think you're made to live there.
Beheaded?
I don't know.
Public hanging?
I don't think I don't know. Like, it's we should look that up. Tell me the punishment before I decide whether I do it. I reckon it's almost worth the risk.
I reckon we should go.
No, God no. It's going to be about on par with the Port Adelaide's trip to China in terms of success.
Yeah, that's true. Well, at least the Chinese let you drink at their footy games.
Oh, they love to let you drink. They're all for it.
If there's a buck in it, they'll...
Good drinkers, the Chinese.
Oh, they can really go. If there's a buck in it, they'll take it off you.
I went to a trip once, a work trip to China.
Yeah.
And they drink. They really were.
I've been to China.
The hospitality
numerous
was
times,
next level. Now, interestingly, we had a lot of fallout last week from from Anthony Mundine fighting Danny Green.
Yep.
Which Green said he's not fighting Mundine again. He's had enough of him.
Yeah,
he's
fair
like
enough.
They are both 60.
Yeah, exactly.
And Mundine says he wants a he's both. Wants a rematch, and he's challenging the judge's decision as well. He's appealing that.
Yeah, Anthony Mundine's. Yeah, he hasn't been happy about the whole thing, even though the 4 judges unanimously awarded the match to Green.
Now, interestingly, one thing that came out is in the week leading up to the fight, Anthony Mundine borrowed $500,000 from rugby code hopper Sonny Bill Williams to deal with a family emergency. They don't say what the family emergency was.
And let's hope that's all fine. But
how many family emergencies have you had that require $500,000 sort of instantly?
Oh, yeah, a few. But
they all involve cleaning the pool for you.
But I certainly don't know any rugby players who. I mean, very few people really seriously have got $500,000 lying around and just lend to a mate.
It take me a few days to get it all together.
Once you got to clear a couple of checks. That takes 3 days. But $500,000 from Sonny Bill to
the interesting
Mundine.
thing is that there was no contract. They're not even a piece of paper. They just shook hands.
Right.
And they said that they described themselves as brothers and said they'd die for each other.
Yeah,
which no one's asking yet, but, let's just...
I was about to say, families have fallen over for far less than $500,000 before, so I know they consider each other brothers.
This is the interesting bit. Williams was actually returning a favour from when Mundine gave him $750,000 back in 2008 when he stormed out of the Canterbury Bulldogs to play French rugby union in France. Now, then, so they've already... these
travelling
guys...
all right, these blokes.
They lend money like... Would you ever lend me $750,000?
No, I mean, I could.
You could, but you
won't.
won't.
I could swipe it now. I could... I could put it on your website and skip the paywall for $750,000.
That you can have the whole site for that. Now, Mundine apparently owns 5 homes, but it's believed that he's made some poor investments and has given away a lot of money. So apparently that's partly why. Now it was a nice thing to do, I guess. But both Mundine and Green made $4 million each out of the fight last week and a bit ago. And Mundine said, I'll pay him back as soon as I get paid next week. It's a bit like just two mates who... It's just like, as you get richer, life stays pretty much the same, but the zeros go up on the end of it. So instead of lending a mate $50 because he lent you $75 and saying, I'll pay you when I get paid next week.
Add 4 or 5 zeros.
Add a few zeros.
But as Mundine says, when I get paid next week, the $4 million. So where's that come mostly from? Foxtel?
I think, and the promoters and everything. So it's like from the everything.
Right.
So
will the 4 mil come in one of those Foxtel boxes they leave at your front door so you can just plug it in yourself?
that's right, $4 million. So that's good money, I guess. Is there anyone you would trust to lend $500,000? There's no one I would. If your mates, I mean.
No, I mean
I get worried about lending. If I lent my mate $20, I won't say that again.
Yeah, you just
Write
you
that
just
off.
naturally assume. Although I guess when the money, the level goes up,
Yeah.
you think there's probably a greater emphasis to pay it back. You know, if I owed you $20, you'd be right. You'll never see it again. but if I owed you 200,
You'd start to feel a bit like, that's serious money.
I would feel a bit guilty for not giving it back to you.
Well, hang on, let's get back to this $20. Just, you skim over that very easy.
So, well, let's just hope that this doesn't fall over. This friendship.
I had a mate once and it does affect you. Like, you're right, little amounts of money between friends, your mates, you do not, like, if someone borrows, like, $200, you do expect that. But in a long-term friendship, they buy you something, they lend you money, or they buy the whatever. But I had a mate once, and he was famous for it, and it did drive a wedge between me and most of our friends, where we'd go out on the terps.
Yeah.
Everyone would be shouting rounds, whatever, and he just would always, like, go, oh, mate, remember I bought you, like, 3 o'clock in the morning at whatever pub? I bought you a bourbon and Coke or a whiskey or whatever. And you'd be like, can I get that $4.50 or whatever it was? Because it was back in the window. And you'd go, are you serious?
I had a mate his big trick was, if you'd all be out for dinner, there might be a table of 10 of you.
Yeah.
Bill comes, it's $400, say, $40 each. Everyone throw it. And you go, I didn't have the entree. You had the oysters. Yeah. I just had the bread.
Yeah.
So I'll put in $36.50.
Yeah.
And you put in $43.50. And till it got to the point we didn't even want him to have dinner.
Yeah, you wouldn't invite him.
But the worst one ever, and this didn't even involve money. I had a mate ring up saying, I've got to play in this golf pro-am next Friday, and my golf club.
Was this Robert Allenby? Was he the pro?
And he said, can I borrow your clubs? I said, yeah, no worries. So he picks up the clubs, goes off, plays in the pro-am, brings them back, and then when I went to next play golf, no balls in the bag.
Oh, he
used a bit.
You know what?
He lost about.
You don't want to remove the balls from the mate's bag.
No, you don't, and especially 24 of them.
No, it is one of life's great mysteries that people do that and just don't.
So all I'm saying is I hope that Sonny Bill Williams and Anthony Munday, I hope this doesn't end in tears. There could be another fight on the go.
The thing about it too is the thing you raise about that thing people do where they start to quibble on the bill.
Yeah.
When people say, well, I didn't have any alcohol.
Yeah.
And, everyone's had a few beers, so it ups the price a bit, And I feel like saying, and you were boring. Yeah. And you should be paying you should be paying more.
That was your choice.
Because it's your choice. And because you were boring. And they go, well, I'm doing Feb fast. I go, stop it.
In that case, you should not only pay more, but we should bash you as well.
I didn't know that because you've only told us 20 times at dinner that you're doing Feb fast. Tell us a bit more about that. Really interested in hearing that.
Yeah, rapt about that, yeah.
Do you love when people telling us they're doing those things?
Oh, yeah. And it's like, Movember. Come on, Titus. Are you growing a mo for Movember? And you go, no. And they make you feel guilty because you won't grow a mo for November, I mean, it helps if you can grow a mo, but...
Now, one of the stories we covered...
You could grow a mo, couldn't you?
I grow a mo if I just don't shave for a day or so.
Yeah. I'm a bit hirsute in that regard. I could, as far as Movember concerned, if I stopped shaving at the end of October, by Derby Day, I could look like Chopper Read.
But don't you think all real men, the older they get, and I say real men, interpret that however you want, but I think real men, the older they get, the more they grow hair in places they don't want and the less where they do. True. That's just growing up as a man. You just eventually, I can grow hair very quickly, just not where it should be growing.
Exactly. When you're 20, do you have hairy bits coming out your ears?
No.
No.
And you got to think, but it's all on top of your head.
Yeah.
And I've got a theory that baldness is just actually the hair going elsewhere.
Just migrating to other parts of your
still
body.
got the exact same. I reckon until the day you die, you have the same percentage of hair as a bloke. Once you get past puberty, it just goes in different areas.
Unless you're warny, it all stays in the one spot.
But hair management.
But that's fake hair.
Women know this way better than men, and men who are starting to care about this starting to learn it. It is a full-time job.
Hair management,
keeping it where you want it to be and not where you want. Women and men, they spend an inordinate amount of time, and where blokes are lucky is a lot of us just go down the path of going, screw this.
Yeah, who cares? You know,
no one's attracted to me anyway. What am I?
So I got to
no one was attracted to me when the hair was in the right
animals
spot.
Under my arms. Who cares? Yeah.
Anyway, I feel we've gone really off topic for a sports podcast.
I think so.
But bringing right back on now, you remember we talked a few weeks ago how about the head of the Australian Olympic Committee, the president.
Yes.
You have to salute, stand up when you say that. John Coates.
Yes.
A firebrand of a sports administrator.
Does he like to be called Excellency?
Or
was that just Kevin
I imagine
Gosper?
being Australia likes Coatesy.
Coatesy, yeah.
Probably. Anyway, Coates has been...
Coatesy.
He's been furious recently and having a very personal stoush, a lot of it over correspondence that happens to keep ending up in the papers, between him and the Australian Sports Commission, the ASC chair, John Wiley.
Yeah, they don't get on, do they?
So the Australian Sports Commission is basically a statutory authority that deals out funding from the government to the various sports.
This is what they've been arguing about for some time.
So they work out whether it goes to grassroots or elite sport, whether it goes to the AFL or, sports like
athletics,
football, athletics, or whether it goes to elite sports that are in the Olympics or ones that are... So they're big arguments basically across four things of where you put sports funding. Grassroots or elite programs.
Yes.
Or sports that are likely to win you an Olympic gold medal.
Like the Olympic cheerleading team?
Well, yeah, exactly. Water polo is a good example of that. Yep. Because it has a gold medal at the end of it, it gets a disproportionate amount of funding compared to the fourth criteria, which is participation. So if you're going to give money on participation, football, AFL, league, netball, these sports would get the majority of funding, but it doesn't always work that way. They often give the money to sports that don't have a lot of participation, but you'll get a gold medal at the end. Like archery is another one.
Archery, of course.
So all this is like kind of the arguments they have. Now the ASC's had their...
And they've been at each other about this for a while, haven't they?
And they've been arguing because the ASC have been basically got new ways of doling out the money, and the John Coates sees it as an attempt to basically take over the fiercely independent Olympic Committee. The Australian Olympic Committee are very independent, and so they see this as the government, because it is government money trying to take over that organisation. Something that they've been paranoid about since basically the government got involved with the Russian Olympic ban, the Moscow Olympic ban.
Right,
so it goes all the way back to that.
1980.
But really, the personal side of this is John Coates fully believes that John Wiley at the ASC is trying to get him sacked.
Right. And we know, like John Coates is very much one of these Olympic types, I like to call them. Is it their level of self-importance and self-regard far exceeds pretty much any of their achievements in sport, on or off the field.
And he's like a lot of these people who are in the high levels of sport and business. You're either the quiet bureaucratic type that's in the background and just managing the politics, or you're a pugnacious person
who likes the publicity.
Everyone goes, they likes the publicity, and everyone kind of, they get what they want through making a lot of noise.
Yeah.
And I would say Coates gets into that sort of thing.
Perfect example.
Now, Coates and Wiley both happened to attend the Nitro Athletics on the weekend.
Well, you'd expect them both to go.
Yeah, it's a big event for that. And they were in the same exclusive VIP area, of course.
Of course.
And they ended up getting in a clash, a heated clash, it was described as.
Heated.
Didn't get physical, unfortunately.
That's a shame.
Because that's the way to settle an argument.
Of course.
You and I have always said.
Especially when sport's concerned. And we know that somebody would have videoed it on their phone. Would have been. It'd be like James Packer and David Gingell just punching on in the street in Bondi.
Oh, that was a fun one. So anyway, apparently they had to be separated. It was on Thursday. At the showpiece event, the Nitro Athletics. Now, Mr. Coates has accused Wiley of working against him, trying to unseat him from his position, and of lying about it when confronted. Coates refused to shake Wiley's hand. At the event, and then it led to basically a swearing tirade between the two. Both of them swearing and yelling at each other.
I'd been there now.
Says witnesses the exchange at Lakeside Stadium in Melbourne's Albert Park described it as highly confrontational, uncomfortable, and not pleasant.
Not pleasant. Oh, okay. So you got a couple of
two blokes yelling and
screaming.
Couple of
big ego bulls going head to head, yelling at each other. But
I don't think anyone got the mobile phone out. How is that even possible these days? People get a mobile phone out.
VIP area. I mean, surely
someone would have. Do you think maybe? Do you think it's possible that Wiley and Coates went to dinner once and the bill splitting got a bit? Coates was like, "But you didn't have alcohol, what?"
And Wiley, I'm doing Feb fast.
So apparently the government have now kind of got to work this through. Of how to get these two to work together.
Just another level of stupidity that'll...
Is it any wonder we're not doing well in the Olympics anymore?
Exactly. I mean, my point, I don't know either of these two men personally, but I think Coates has got a lot to answer for Australia's pitiful performance in Rio in 2016.
Well, I think
Wiley's probably just trying to rectify
London
that.
Ones, I think he's the guy that needs to have a still knocks.
Yeah.
Just chill out a little bit.
Chill out, yeah.
Just relax. Yeah. Stop giving it to your athletes.
Yeah.
So, anyway, well, that's a bit... It's good to see that people in sport, both on the field and off, never really have to grow up.
Yeah,
it's really just high school. It's like they all stopped progress at high school.
Yeah.
And anyone else gets involved in that world has to kind of go to that level. Interestingly, overseas...
I love this story.
There was a tournament in Hawaii.
Tennis tournament.
It was the Fed Cup, Federation Cup in tennis. And the Germans, I think it was when they were being announced or introduced, they played the national anthem of each team.
It's the Fed Cup. So, Fed Cup being the women's version of the Davis Cup.
Yep.
So...
is that right?
Germany, USA v Germany.
Yeah, USA v. So they play the USA anthem, and that's fine. And then the German national anthem gets played, and it was the Nazi era version, which I just think is America getting ahead of itself.
Yeah,
because it seems to be going that way.
How would you have? I don't know who's the DJ at the thing. How do you have the Nazi era German anthem?
I don't know. Apparently
in your iPod.
What can I say? I'm a fan to whoever did it. So it's not a good time for this to happen because all that's going on in America, everyone is accusing, not everyone, but there is a large section of populations and internationally accusing Trump of basically being the next Hitler,
Nazi,
a Nazi and the next Hitler, which I like to think, let him be his own dictator. Why do we have to? Because a lot of people argue back. Well, that's ridiculous. Yeah. You know, there's no chance he could be Hitler. Yeah. You know, it's just hyperbole from the left, and then the left say, "Oh no, if you look at it," I like to think, well, let's just see where.
Just see where he ends up.
Like future generation, let him be his own horrible dictator, because other generations might say he's the next Trump.
Yeah, he might only reach Robert Mugabe standards.
Yeah. Who knows? Like, let's just see. It might be a whole new thing that we just like.
But also the other drama with this anthem thing is it's not only Trump and what's happening in America. The politics in Germany and Europe are so volatile at the moment.
Yeah.
That you've got extreme right wing parties in Germany, you know, vying for power with the extreme left wing, and nobody quite knows what's going on.
People seem to get national anthems wrong a lot in sports.
Don't they?
Like, it's not always like
but
a Nazi.
But in Australia, we get them wrong too, quite often.
Well, how many times have you seen, like, the story pretty regularly in either the wrong flag or the flag flown the wrong way?
Yeah.
That comes up a lot.
Upside down flags, that upsets a lot of people.
Yeah. And do you ever get upset about flags? People get really fired up about flags, like burning flags or like them being, and they say, "Oh, it's a dishonour to the country." And I'm like, really? Is all this sensitive?
The only thing to worry about a flag is is make sure you've got it at the right angle when you're wearing it as a cape on Australia Day.
Yeah, that's where you really could disrespect.
Yeah.
You know? But people say, you shouldn't. You shouldn't sit on the flag. You shouldn't. And I'm like,
it's a piece of material.
God, and sometimes I put my t-shirt on the wrong way. Like mistakes happen. I just don't get the quite the excitement about it. Anyway, maybe I'm just wrong there. Now, something that's going to really be exciting, Serge.
Yeah.
Shane Warne is going on tour. Did you see this? He came out and announced it. It says Warne is promising an intimate evening to share the whole truth and nothing but the truth about his life on and off the field.
You see,
it's a speaking tour.
I get the feeling that Warney's promised an intimate evening on one or two occasions.
Do you think he's charged for it before? I thought it would happen the other way normally.
Did he do this via text?
So he said, "You're going to get me, no holds barred, the whole truth," Warne said. Yeah. Some of it is going to be tough to talk about because it's my fault and it will be emotional at times, but you're going to get me, you're going to get the full me.
Right.
Now, the thing about this is it's going to be him on stage talking to...
an interviewer.
Yeah, it's
who's it going to be?
Nichols from Channel 9.
What's he? He was. He co-hosted the cricket, but he was crook. He missed something. That Pom, who we know so well, Nichols.
Is it Mike? I've gone blank.
It's not Mike Nichols. He was a Hollywood director.
No, I know. Oh, God, I can't believe we've forgotten. This is the wonderful thing about...
Google.
about live podcasting. I've gone completely blank. I know his surname and everything.
Nichols Cricket.
This is amazing.
Henry Nichols. No, he plays for New Zealand.
Mark Nichols.
No, it's not Nichols. It's Nicholas. It's Mark Nicholas.
Anyway, that's a terrible moment of it. Anyway,
we'll take that out in post.
Is that an insult to him that we can't remember who he is? That forgettable?
Pretty much.
Anyway, it's him interviewing Warney. Oh. Now, isn't that just you could listen to it for free on the Channel 9 thing? Every time they commentate together, it's just Warney telling stories about himself.
Nicholas just be tossing up lobs for Warney just to put him into the back court. It's not going to be a no holds barred.
It basically
expose.
Said that it's going to be him setting the truth, setting facts straight. So this is like alternate facts, basically. Yeah. This is his version of events, he's saying, and because it's all been so wrong. So it's going to be interesting, isn't it? Now, his manager, when asked about why the Warney Uncut tour might appeal, his manager, James Erskine, said, "I think Shane straddles everybody in Australia."
See, that gets back to the intimate evening, doesn't it?
What's his agent on?
James Erskine, he's a bit of a player himself. But I think Shane straddles everybody in Australia. The Warney thing.
Just slightly.
Is it going to go well, do you reckon? Is this going to be how many nights in each city is he going to do?
I think it's one for most of them at the moment. But, I mean, like it'd probably be sells a fair few.
I suppose you come back for a second night. Well, good luck to Warney.
I couldn't think of anything I'd like to do less, but...
No.
I'm sure there's many others.
I think we should go get a front row seat and just every time it's a mouth, we just go, "What about Liz Hurley?"
Well, I think he's been asked
what
about
Liz Hurley. Warney, give us
heckle him the whole time through. Well, he said he'll talk about all that stuff because he said that. He said, "Oh, that's what anyone wants to ask him."
Yeah, well, exactly.
Now, sticking with cricket here, the BBC came out with a story I read last week. They said that climate change is hurting cricket clubs. They said storms in December 2015 linked to climate change caused more than $3.5 million, £3.5 million pounds worth of damage to cricket clubs in the UK. Two clubs, Sowerby Bridge in West Yorkshire and Appleby Eden in Cumbria, have yet to return to their grounds because they've been wiped out. The 130-year-old Corbridge Cricket Club have had to have their clubhouse demolished as a result of Storm Desmond, which is a great name.
Storm Desmond, that's a great... Storm Desmond, that just should be the name of a sports person.
And the English and Wales Cricket Board's distributed more than £1 million in emergency funding to clubs, and they've earmarked another $1.6 million for this year. It basically says that they reckon now they can sort of tell which storms now are linked to climate change.
Right.
Which I don't know if that sounds to me.
And if they do, they give it a dodgy name like Desmond.
But I sort of like this is, for those who are on the fence about climate change, it's now affecting cricket clubs.
Yeah.
We need to get serious about this.
Once it sort of knocks out the scoreboard at your local footy ground, that will turn people around.
This will turn people around. The people who have been dragging their
England,
feet
it's
on
certainly turning people around in England. There's no
the
question of
science.
that.
See, the thing I've always understood. I'm happy to be proven wrong on this, but the science of it I understand is the science is all in on that climate change is totally occurring and is totally being significantly sped up and contributed by
it's man-made
by humans, right?
Yeah.
Which I have no trouble believing, so I'm not a skeptic. But I am skeptical of them being able to pinpoint individual storms.
Yeah.
Because the way I've understood it is it's a bit like when climate change deniers say, global warming, well, it's cold today.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, climate change is over centuries and thousands of years.
And that's the word change comes in.
It's a long-term trend. It's not so you can't point to individual events. But this is an example of them pointing to individual events and going, yeah, this is why it's happening.
Oh, see, I can see an enormous insurance scam here. Yeah. Every cricket club.
Need some money by climate change.
Maybe not the Poms. They'll do it above board. But in Australia, there'll be club secretaries at cricket clubs and footy clubs all around go, here we go. Next time some heavy rain. We'll kick in the back door, break a few windows, and then climate change insurance claim. I can see it now.
How far are we away from an AFL club blaming its season on climate change? I can just see Brendan Gale getting up there explaining when
the Tigers, they'll be the first ones.
We've had a lot of ups and downs weather-wise this year.
Yeah,
climate change.
That hasn't helped.
The stress of climate change is getting to our players.
Dustin Martin was in such good form until that latest environmental report came out. And his defensive work went downhill straight away.
No wonder no one knows what's going on when people say stuff like that. Now, we had some great listeners' questions come in.
There were some crackers.
First one is, what's the name of that guy who hosts the Channel 9 cricket? That's from Sergio Paradise and Titus O'Reilly.
Yeah, that's from Mike of Yorkshire.
Dave Lennon wrote in the entire history of the AFL Women's, have Collingwood ever won a game? It's true, they've never won a game. Can you believe that?
No, it hasn't. And
do you know last night I wanted to tweet? I was watching there was both at the same time up against each other. There was the Freo Brisbane AFL Women's game, and it was on the other channel was the A-League Women's Grand Final. And I wanted to tweet, typically A-League Women's copying the AFL, knowing full well
they've been doing it for years.
They've been doing it a lot longer than the AFL. But I just knew the vitriol from A-League supporters I would get. I'm thinking I was being serious.
Oh, yeah, I tell
Twitter
you what,
doesn't always carry the...
It doesn't always work in your favour, especially... I don't just know what it's like. As soon as you drop a Flares joke about the A-League... Yeah, you just about get death threats.
Yeah, it doesn't always pick up the subtlety of your jokes sometimes, Twitter. Although they're not often very good jokes, I will admit. Racetrack Ralphie's written in again. There's both the Saturday Herald Sun and The Age featuring an in-depth interview with Ross Lyon means it's still off-season. That's absolutely true because the Melbourne papers would normally not acknowledge that there are any other teams.
Yeah, and Ross Lyon, says nothing during the season. He's not going to give an in-depth...
Well, did you see he said, and I'm paraphrasing, but reading it, I remember reading, he said, well, if you're going to judge me by premierships, judge me harshly. I'm going, that's what we're doing, Ross. Yeah. That's exactly what we're doing.
It was like last year.
That's the only way we judge coaches.
If you want to judge me on a win-loss ratio, okay.
That's exactly how we're judging
That's what we're looking at here, actually. Funny
that's the only thing footy fans care about.
Yeah.
Like, everyone else is... sure, you have coaches where you go, it wasn't that bad under them.
Yeah.
Like, it was better than it's been lately, or, it wasn't the worst era we've ever had. But overall, coaching is about premierships, and that's it. So,
that's right.
Nice try to challenge us on that one, Ross. Anthony wrote in, what is more inhumane, Trump's treatment of ethnic minorities or giving Usain Bolt a Richmond jumper?
Well, old Usain, this is about his third or fourth AFL jumper.
He does not care. People hand him an AFL jumper, he'll put it on.
Yeah, here he goes. He'll put it on. He'll do the dab arrow look and the picture in the paper. Job done.
Yeah, that's right. Although it was nice to see an athlete in a Richmond jumper. Kind of look good on him. Matthew Holland wrote in, Reece Palmer has claimed, and this is true, Reece Palmer did do an interview and said this, has claimed that Carlton's list is similar to the Giants in 2014. Does this mean that Carlton will receive endless draft concessions from the AFL as well? Good
question, Matthew. It's actually almost a serious question. That it's almost not even a silly question.
I did see Reece say that he thinks Carlton list is similar to GWS's in 2014. I'm not sure Reece is not drinking a fair bit of Kool-Aid down there at Carlton.
Yeah, I think he's getting a bit ahead of himself there, but...
now, DP raises an interesting point. There was a great photo of this. The Australian cricket team were training with a white plastic chair in the field.
Yeah, and
so rather than have a player in
wasn't just in the field. It was like a close-in short leg.
Yeah, it's a short leg. Instead of putting someone in short leg, they just put a chair, like you do in the backyard where you go, the chair's out.
Yeah.
That counts as a fielder.
Well, they just had
the garage door is
the three stumps
keeper
on it in black texture is what they hadn't done.
It was pretty amateurish.
Oh, it looked fantastic.
He's asked, what was its name? Was the white chair's name Mitch? Almost certainly.
Yeah.
Or a Mark.
Yeah.
One of the two.
And even though the chair didn't perform very well, its position's been guaranteed for the next 4 matches.
Someone said to me, is it going in at number 6 on the Indian tour? And I thought it probably will be. Serge, a couple of questions have all come in aimed squarely at you.
Oh, yeah, I can see this one.
Greg Furness wrote in, did you learn last week that the podcasts are not the forum to comment on live sport? This was you talking about the Super Bowl
I should explain this. When we did last Monday's podcast, we had the Super Bowl on in the background on the telly. And it was nearly half time. I hadn't really seen... And as I glanced over Titus O'Reilly's right shoulder, I saw the score was 21-0 to the Atlanta Falcons.
And you there and then rode off the
I said,
Patriots.
Hey, it's nearly half. There's 2 minutes left until the half. The Falcons are 21 zip up. Game is over. You can turn it off now. Which, and as Greg Finesse has rightly pointed out, that podcast's probably not the right format to do that, because by the time you listen to the podcast, the game was over, and as we all know what happened,
one of the greatest comeback in the history of the Super Bowl.
Well, I actually, after we recorded the podcast and went home and watched the second half, and it did occur to me when Brady threw that match-winning touchdown pass in overtime, I thought, didn't I just say on the podcast that the game was over at half time?
Well, we never go back and edit our podcast ever.
No, we're certainly not about to start now.
We leave in all the rubbish. Now, Lee Seagat...
We might get rid of that bit about Mark Nicholas not knowing his name. But,
we can't now because we kept referring to it all the way through. Lee Seagat wrote in, I didn't catch the Super Bowl result, only Serge's halftime update. How much did the Falcons win by?
Yeah,
now, I put 2 in. I probably got 100 questions having a go at you here. They're really focusing on sticking the boot in. Now, another question directed at you, but on a different topic. Marcus wrote in, how delighted was Serge when South Australia lost power last week?
Oh, look, I wasn't delighted about that, Marcus, because, we all have to travel to
I believe you said... I didn't know they had power.
Yeah, I think I did say something like that. There was one other too.
Well, New South Wales almost lost power too, didn't they?
And there's every danger that it will happen in Victoria at some point. But New South Wales went close because they had temperature in the 40s all weekend.
Well,
but at least you could, as opposed to Qatar, at least you could have a beer in up there, but only until about 8 o'clock.
Yeah, then you got to stay inside your house.
Yeah. I actually got one more aimed at me last night. From our old mate Rhombus Isotope. Did you see that? He said, why did Treasurer Scott Morrison have Serge's heart in Parliament last week, meaning that large lump of black coal, which actually, Rhombus, is what my real heart actually resembles.
That's right. It was interesting how often we keep losing basic services in South Australia.
Yeah.
I do worry about our friends over there. It's why I'm glad that my house is powered by outrage tweets.
Yeah.
That is a renewable energy source.
The way things are going in South Australia, they'll soon have to relinquish their title as the serial killer capital of Australia.
Well, I've been saying for a long time that I believe that South Australia, the first state to go back to being a territory, will have the Northern Territory and the Southern Territory.
Yes,
there's a synergy to it.
It does. That's a very good idea.
It does add the last person leaving, turn the lights out.
Actually,
won't need to.
While we're still talking about South Australia, we're getting towards the end. I got a tweet last night from a guy who he said, you may not have seen this. It came out late yesterday. There was a picture of Shannon Knoll, and he'd taken a selfie of himself in a South Australian prison cell over the weekend.
Oh, really?
Referring, obviously, in a kind of humorous way that he has to front up court next week for assaulting that bouncer outside the that strip joint.
This is the most publicity he's had in years.
Yeah, well, he still hasn't got over the fact that he got beaten by Guy Sebastian.
Oh,
in 2004.
You and I have studied that in great detail.
Oh,
the advanced metrics of Australian Idol.
I'm a bit of a Guy fan.
You like the reality TV, I got to say.
Oh, no, I don't.
Well, compared to me, who doesn't watch any of it.
I watch bits of it just merely because it annoys me so much. And
you like getting annoyed?
Yeah, it makes me drink more. And so that's the nice payoff.
President Trumbull wrote in...
He's getting a bit ahead of himself too.
Why does the shower curtain move into the shower when the hot water is turned on? I know the answer to this.
You do?
I do.
Yeah? What is it?
So after I got this question, I thought, gee, I actually want to know the answer to that.
I need a hot shower.
I looked it up, and it says apparently this guy is was like an MIT professor.
Right.
He wondered it, and unlike you and I, who wonders it and doesn't know what to do, he ran advanced computer modelling and tests to find it out. And the real basic reason is the hot water and the temperature change and the thing creates a vortex that sucks in the shower curtain.
Of course it does.
And the only way you can really stop it is by using weights to stop your...
this is when you got your...
Stop the shower curtain.
On your floppy
shower
curtain.
Nothing else will work because it creates an actual low-pressure vortex that sucks it in. So
what about if you turn the cold tap on?
I think that'll help, but it's also just the flow of the water too. And it ends up creating literally you are creating a vortex in your shower.
President Trumbull, go and get a couple of weights for the bottom of your shower curtain. Problem solved.
Get one of those showers that doesn't have a curtain. Get glass or something. You know?
Or just completely open, like
stop showering
at a footy club.
Stop showering is the way. Showering's overrated.
Or shower with someone. Like remember when
hang on,
when Victoria lost gas all those years ago?
Oh, that's right. Yeah,
and they used to say, "Save power, shower with a friend." Well, as the great Will Anderson once pointed out, that's all well and good, but when have you ever had a shower with someone else and stayed in there less time than you normally would?
It's true. Now, we need to get to a T-shirt winner, I just realised. And a bunch of them went out last week. There's a couple more we're sending out, but we're almost up. But one or two people emailed me saying, where the hell is mine? And I'm letting them know that it is certainly coming. You are going to get it.
What do you think? Ralphie Horowitz was very good, but he's already got a T-shirt. I've given him a T-shirt.
You gave him one just out of the kindness of your heart.
Yeah, no, he was a guest on this show.
Oh, there you go. He's a guest.
He was a guest, so he gets a T-shirt. Yeah.
I like Dave Lennon's one. In the entire history of the AFLW, has Collingwood ever won a game?
Yeah, no,
well done, Dave.
Good on you, Dave.
Now, we will be back Thursday.
We will indeed.
Which should be good.
It should be. And next week, next few weeks, we've got a couple of special guests probably coming in on the Thursday shows. We'll keep you posted on those, but it's all happening here.
Oh, excellent. We'll see you next week. I'll see you later in the week.
We'll see you then.